forgot to ask you that.
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavadi Pastyatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Basadi Gaur Bhattarinda Giva Jayo Jaya Gora Chande Arati Kashova Janavi Tata Bani Jagamana Lova Dakhirini Taishan Pame Gadadhara Nikate Advaita Shrini Pasachhatradhara Nikate Advaita Shrini Pasachhatradhara Vasiyate Gorachan Ratna Singhasani আরতি করে না ব্রহ্মা আদি দেবগণী হরি আদি করি চামারা দুলায়া Sanjaya Mukunda Basu Kosadigaya Sankha baje ghanta baje madhur 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 baje Sankha baje ghanta baje madhur 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 baje madhur rame ranga baje paramarasala baje Nitai Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gora Hari Bol Bahu Koti Chandra Jeni Badana Ujala Kala dese bana mala Kori jala mala Kala dese bana mala Kori jala mala Shiva Sukha Narada Preme Gadagada TV noda dekhe Orara sampada Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori. Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jagannatha, Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस भगवान के श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी जगत गुरु शिल प्रभुपाद की, इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य शिल प्रभुपाद की, एवं विष्णुपाद परमहंस भगवान के भक्ति सिद्धांत प्रभुपाद महाराज की, अनंत कोटि वैष्णविंद की, नामाचार्य शिलारिदास ठाकुर की, प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तविंद की, श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धाम की, मायापुर धाम की, वृंदावन धाम की, अयोध्यापुरी धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, द्वारका धाम की, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की, गंगा मैया की, यमुना मैया की, भक्ति देवी की, तुलसी देवी की, श्री श्री किशोर किशोरी की, श्री श्री गौनिताय की, श्री श्री जगन्नाथ जी बलदेव जी सुभद्रा देवी की, श्री श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान जी की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद जी. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Kashipur Baksha Shrilatangana Palaye Ito Narasimha Parato Narasimha Yato Yato Yamikato Narasimha Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavadrupa Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Nrsimhadev Jaya Nrsimhadev
प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी।
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। On behalf of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, we welcome you all to the Sunday Feast program at Sri Sri Kishore Kishori Temple. Thank you all for coming. I know it is cold outside, yet everybody is here. That's great. Is there anybody who has come for the first time? Can you raise their hands? Can you keep your hands raised? We have a small gift for you. These small boys will give you a gift. Please do keep coming. You have this program every Sunday, starting at 5. We'll have a small talk after this and a little more kirtan, and then we also have vegetarian prasadam upstairs, a dinner prasadam. So before we start the program, I have a few announcements. We are heading into the month of December, which is a marathon month, a book distribution marathon month for ISKCON all over the world. So this is a month of giving. So we basically encourage and invite all the devotees here to give out Srila Prabhupada's books. So we have this Live to Give campaign going on, where you can sponsor Bhagavad Gita cases. You can take those cases for yourself and distribute to your neighbors. It's a holiday season, so it's the best book to gift to somebody. Whatever sponsorship you do, it will help. We're also going to distribute this to 96 libraries all over Chicago area. So whatever sponsorship you do, that will help us to place these books into these libraries. So please participate as much as you can. Bhagavad Gita says this, the 18th chapter, it's written out there, that whoever distributes this book, this knowledge to everybody, becomes at most very dear to Krishna. So this is the express way of becoming dear to Krishna. So we should all take a leverage of that. Also, we'll have Sunday school program going on in the basement. All the kids who are 12 years and younger, they can participate in that. So if you are, if you want your kids to participate in there, please go and have a look at it. It's a wonderful program for the kids. Also in the bake sale today, we have something very special. In this cold weather, we have hot dosas. So anybody who wants to take that, this crepes basically. And it is very, very interesting that they are making it right there. So please take this opportunity to go down and have a look as well, but after the class, of course. So we have today with us Her Grace Krishnachana Mataji. She'll be talking about Bhagavad Gita, because we are going into this marathon month where we are going to know about the importance of Bhagavad Gita. And also in the next entire year, we'll be talking about more of Bhagavad Gita, the basics of our movement. So we'll welcome her with big and loud Hari Bol. Hari Bol! So please turn yourselves here and switch off your mobiles. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for bringing the garland. Hare Krishna. Yeah, yeah, I'm scared that it blocks the page. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamunatiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatiravanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kishore Kishori ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Marani ki jai, Gornitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this evening I'm to speak on Bhagavad Gita, or the importance or relevance of Bhagavad Gita to our generation. I've chosen to speak on the relevance of Bhagavad Gita to seers of the truth because it's pretty universal no matter which generation it is. So I'm going to just say some pranam prayers before I begin. So just hold a little bit. Om Gyana Timarandasya, Gananjana Shlakha, Chakshur and Militam Yena, Tasmai Shri Guruvena Mahashi Chaitanya Manopistam, Stapitam Yena Bhutale, Swamrupa Bhagaramada Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam, Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Padakamalam, Shri Guru, Vaishnavam Sha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragutam Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitam Sha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavan Ishvari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Romapada Swami iti namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I witnessed last week the speaker had, Gopal Hari Prabhu, had asked for the audience to come a little bit more compacted to make it easier, because I'm going to lose everybody that's on this side because you're outside, you're in my peripheral vision. So I prefer to see you all a little bit better. So I witnessed him putting the audience together and I saw how much more pleasant it was. So I'm following in his footsteps. Thank you so much. Sorry that you had to make a little adjustment. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. So I'm actually going to reference one of our acharyas in the disciplic succession, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he was writing in the 1800s, and I'm particularly referencing him for this discussion because he had this remarkable ability to communicate very simply and reach a huge amount of the population because of his very simple presentation. So this evening I'll be referencing Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who's had also translated the Bhagavad Gita. It's virtually identical to Srila Prabhupada's translation, but here and there the word usage is a little simpler. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes that in the beginning of Kali Yuga, this time period of disagreement and fighting in which we are living, Lord Krishna Chandra revealed the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence of Vedic literature and the only means to attain liberation from material existence. And he revealed this to his dear friend Arjuna. So that's Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writing. So the relevance of Bhagavad Gita is in its being a means to get free from existing merely in a kind of physical manner. So only relating to objects in a kind of objects that occupy space. So in a very physical kind of way. And instead of looking for comforts and pleasures that lie in material objects, or just functioning in a very material kind of way, one would want to move one's existence to that focused on spiritual values. And this is a very important idea present in Bhagavad Gita. And a second important idea presented in Bhagavad Gita is that service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in a very devotional mood, is the eternal duty of every living entity. So those are the two main ideas presented in Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he very intelligently, he divides the readers of Bhagavad Gita into two categories. So the first category that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur identifies is the gross seers of the truth. So this category are persons who come to conclusions simply by using the external meaning of words. And then he looks at a second category of readers of Bhagavad Gita, and that category of readers focuses on the subtle aspects. They search for the actual purport or the meaning that's contained therein. So the gross seers, after studying the entire Bhagavad Gita, they actually come to a particular conclusion. And this is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's analysis. Their conclusion is that Varnashram Dharma is the eternal activity of the soul, and that is why Arjuna, after hearing Bhagavad Gita, engaged in his profession of fighting. Varnashram, it refers to the divisions in society, namely there'll be the priestly class, the Brahmanas, there's the administrative class, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, the mercantile class, the bankers, and also then the last category is the Sudras, who are the laborers. And ashram refers to a particular member of society and their occupational duty or their duty on a spiritual level. So whether one is a student, a householder, a retired person, or somebody who's completely renounced material life. So the conclusion on the part of the gross seers of the truth is that if one engages in fruitive activities, means those activities which produce results, based on the principle of Varnashram, so you're taking into account your occupation and you're taking into account where you fit in terms of ashram, by age category, that is the aim of Bhagavad Gita. So those are the gross seers of the truth as analyzed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then the second category, the subtle seers of truth, they conclude that knowledge of the impersonal Brahman, meaning the all-pervasive aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the aim of Bhagavad Gita, or there may be another category that are seers of the truth that are on a more subtle level. They understand that pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the purport of Bhagavad Gita. So those are the two broad categories of persons approaching Bhagavad Gita and how they're actually going to understand or view Bhagavad Gita and what they're going to conclude. Now, obviously, the way the subtle seers of the absolute truth or Bhagavad Gita readers, they differ from the gross seers of the absolute truth because they don't merely look at the person's external occupational duty and their duty according to their spiritual order and then decide that that's actually what determines the functioning of their soul or how their soul should function, because clearly that's on a much more material plane. So if one were to analyze what are those duties, just to highlight it a little bit, usually the spiritual duty of somebody who's a student, brahmachari, that would be studying of the scriptures or serving as spiritual master. If one's a grahasta or a householder, usually the spiritual duty is one of worshipping the deity and giving in charity. The duty of a vanaprastha, or person in retired life, is to travel to places of pilgrimage and also spread the message of Bhagavad Gita. And sannyas, or person in the renounced order, their particular duty, again, is dissemination of the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, but they're completely relying on the Supreme Lord. They've got no other attachments. So these subtle seers of the truth, they say that Arjuna's engagement in fighting is not the same as what the gross seers of the subtle, of gross readers of Bhagavad Gita are saying. The gross seers of the absolute truth, those looking at Bhagavad Gita, they say that Arjuna engaging in fighting is an example of his steadiness in the performance of his prescribed duties. That's as far as they see things. And they give a reason. They say that, it's natural to do your duty according to your nature, and that every living entity engages in their respective duties or activities. And in that way, they gradually get spiritual knowledge. So that's the gross seers. But the subtle seers of the absolute truth, they have a different view. And I'm particularly, as I mentioned, drawing on the commentary on Bhagavad Gita based on the teachings of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is looking at the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya's doctrine was that there's inconceivable oneness and difference of God and his energies. So this has implications, and both the commentary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, on whom Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur based his commentary, Srila Baladev Vijayabhusan, and Srila Prabhupada, they all look at this idea that existence is not concerned with physicality, but with spiritual values. And it's Lord Krishna's basic instruction on the soul, which immediately makes one understand this. So in the second chapter, there's a summary study, and in the small, it's called Rasikananda, commentary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, written in very simple language, and it's based on the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's meant to allow one to give consideration to the argument that's presented. Means that it allows one to develop one's intelligence. And it's also filled with ecstatic devotional mellows. So here is a section that an argument is presented. So the subtle seers of the absolute truth, or those studying Bhagavad Gita, are looking at this in this way. So this is what Krishna, the Supreme Lord, says to Arjuna. "O Arjuna, although you're speaking like a wise man, you are lamenting for something not worthy of grief. Those who are actually learned neither lament for the living nor for the dead." So right away one gets the understanding that the spirit soul is indestructible. And there's no cause for lamentation, so there's no need to lament that death is coming. One understands that the body is perishable, but the soul dwelling within is completely indestructible. So what is the point of lamenting for the body and its finite duration? So there are two souls, and this is carrying on. There are two souls, the individual spirit soul and the super soul. And so this is Krishna talking. I am the super soul, and you and all these kings are individual spirit souls. It is not that I, you, and all these kings did not exist in the past, nor that any of us will cease to exist in the future. We are all eternally existent. And he carries on. So you can see the idea that's being communicated very clearly, that of a very important value that needs to be there, and that is that one is not putting emphasis on the gross physical body and the interrelationships connected to it. So Krishna carries on. As an embodied soul remains unchanged, even as the body gradually changes from childhood to youth to old age, he also passes on to another body after death. The soul continues to remain even though the body is destroyed. As a person becomes joyful upon reaching the age of youth, the devotees of the Supreme Lord are happy to give up their old and dwindling bodies. For this reason, a sober person does not lament for the destruction of the material body. So you can see how it's emphasized by Lord Krishna in several different ways, that in fact one can even be joyful at the time of old age when the body is falling apart, the hearing is not there, the eyesight is failing, the teeth are falling out, the limbs are, one's needing an additional crutch to make oneself mobile. One can actually feel joyful when the time comes to exit that body, that the soul will be able to exit that body. And the reason one can feel joyful is because one understands that actually that body is a temporary habitation. And one is going to move to another body. And of course, here Krishna is not getting into preparing that one exits the body in a particular way, that it's actually not another material body. Here he's just mentioning that the body is going to dwindle and there will be death. But one is eternally existent in actual fact. So very important spiritual value. Now, an argument by Arjuna that was based on physicality or looking at comforts and pleasures as opposed to spiritual values had been the following. So you can see how the intelligence is being guided through reading Bhagavad Gita. So here's what Arjuna says. O Krishna, seeing my relatives and friends present before me with a desire to fight, the limbs of my body are trembling and my mouth is drying up. And he carries on. My body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, my Gandiva bow and arrows are slipping from my hands and my skin is burning. I'm unable to stand here any longer, and my mind is terribly bewildered. O Keshava, I can see only impending misfortune. So these were several verses, one after the other, expressing the state of mind of Arjuna. So this argument of Arjuna against fighting, because he is standing on a battlefield, and when he looks out at who's in front of him, who are the persons arrayed on the opposite side, this is what his response is. So he's in fact highlighting the physiological and psychological effects of his feeling compassion. He's feeling compassion because he sees that actually, should he start fighting, he's actually going to be killing his teacher. He's going to be killing his cousins, about 100 of them. He's going to be killing some elderly personalities that he feels very respectful towards. So he's expressing those psychological and physiological effects from even the thought of actually engaging in battle. So He continues, I'm unable to stand here any longer, and my mind is terribly bewildered. Oh, Keshava, I can only see impending misfortune. So, and he says, I do not see anything beneficial in killing my relatives in battle, O Krishna. I have no desire for victory, kingdom, or happiness at their cost. O Govinda, of what use is a kingdom, the enjoyment of happiness, and even life itself, when the very people for whom we desire these things are standing before us on the battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives and friends are prepared to sacrifice their lives in this battle, why should I desire to kill them, even though they are prepared to kill me? That's his argument. So it appears very noble, because he's actually saying, I'm considering who I have to fight against, and surely the purpose of fighting anything is to actually, if I'm victorious, I'm actually going to be able to enjoy greater happiness with my relatives. So that's his argument. So it appears fairly noble. But in an existence focused on spiritual values, naturally, one has to take into account how one performs one's activities. And Srila Bhaktivinoda's commentary has Krishna speaking. So this is all in the second chapter, although Arjuna's argument was in the first. Krishna says, thus far I have explained knowledge in terms of an analytical study based on intelligence. So you saw how he was emphasizing the existence of the soul and the indestructible nature of the body over and over again in different ways. So he's calling it an analytical study based on intelligence. So that analysis looks at that which chiefly occupies one's time and one's trade or profession, because that's one of the grossiers of the truth are concerned with that. So this is how Krishna puts it. So he looks at that point and he says, if you are concerned about your own occupational duty, then you should know that for a Kshatriya, there is nothing more beneficial than fighting a religious battle. The living entities are divided into two classes. This is Krishna. Conditioned, so I'm pausing for a minute just to explain. Conditioned means that one's developed a behavioral pattern in one's life, or a conditioned reflex. Like there were very famous experiments, particularly in America in the early 1900s, where a particular sound is associated with food being given to a dog, perhaps. And after a while, the dog hears the sound and immediately begins salivating, even before seeing the food. So then an association forms in the mind. So there's a pattern. If that sound is heard, that means food is coming. In the same way, the person inhabiting the body has developed patterns in the mind. So through one's upbringing, depending on how one's parents bring one up, one develops a certain pattern. So, for instance, one may feel great happiness in seeing roses or flowers in general because one has memories of walking with one's parents in rose gardens, you know. So it's a learned pattern, and it comes from that kind of exposure. You learned something through a particular action as you were growing up. I mean, I'm giving one example, but there are numerous patterns, and some of them can be negative patterns too, where it may be a case of a parent may have not understood something of their own psychology, and so they will find a way to relieve themselves through taking it out on the child. So let's say one parent has a short temper and the other parent knows that they're going to be at the receiving end of the short temper of their partner, so then they put the child in the middle. So it will then save them from having to deal with the irate partner. So then the child develops a pattern where they get accustomed that when they hear somebody getting angry, they feel distress, because there was a pattern of that over and over in their childhood. So there's all kinds of patterns like that in the mind. So here Krishna is saying there's two categories of persons. Those that are conditioned, and I've gone into detail about conditioning. And then there's also persons that are liberated. So the liberated persons are those that are freed. They've actually got freed from these learned patterns in the mind, these learned patterns in the emotions. Let me go back to where Krishna is speaking. The living entities are divided into two classes: conditioned, that means having developed behavioral patterns or conditioned reflexes, and liberated means that they're released from this kind of enslavement to a behavioral pattern. I mean, as one goes through life, one becomes very aware of what patterns one's carrying in the mind, and many of them one really wishes to be free of. Sources of fear, sources of anger, all come from these patterns. So when the living entities are conditioned by matter, means, having related in a very kind of physical way, they've learned these reflexes in dealing with matter. Just like the dog, he's dealing with a physical sound, he's associating with food. A human is associating the sound of a voice with a certain emotion. If a person's in this kind of conditioned state, it means that their occupational duties have become tinged with material designations. This is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also speaking. So it means that any duty one's performing, one's going to stake out one's territory, because one's functioning in a very material way. And also one may look for titles that come with the work one's performing. So, one may be manager, boss, simple worker, whatever it is. But this is all part of how one's occupational duty, even what one's doing, gets affected. Now, in the conditioned kind of way of functioning, humans go through various stages. So it means that their occupational duties can appear a little bit varied because they're characterized by some sort of variety. For example, if one's like Arjuna, a soldier or a fighter, there may be different ranks that one goes through as a fighter. So for an embodied soul that's following the principles of an ashram, so you've got your main way that you're occupying your time and the duties you're performing, and then there's also your spiritual duties connected to which stage in your life you are. Krishna says, considering all this, what can be more beneficial to a Kshatriya than fighting? So he's putting an emphasis, he's looking in a kind of little bit material way. What could be more beneficial than actually doing your fighting, he's telling to Arjuna. If you are killed in this battle, so you see how clever the reasoning is, because it helps the intelligence. Because that's the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, it's helping one to develop intelligence. Krishna says to Arjuna, if you are killed in this battle, you will go to the heavenly planets. And if you are victorious, you will enjoy the kingdom of this world. Therefore, get up and fight with determination. So 2 very excellent reasons for why he should be fighting. It's very much interconnected to what is the result of his performing his particular duty. He can't lose, really. If he does lose, he gets elevated to the heavenly planets. And if he wins, his kingdom expands on this earthly plane. So, he should fight. And Krishna says to him, you should fight considering happiness and distress, profit and loss, victory and defeat as equal. In this way, you will not commit any sins. So this is very interesting that Krishna is bringing in this idea of sin. And sin is usually defined by Krishna as abstaining from one's duty. So if you are not performing your duty, that you're falling into sinful life. So Arjuna had in fact said this, that he had got into a conflict, and this was his conflict. I'm unable to decide which of the two, victory or defeat, is superior. Because after killing Dhritarashtra's sons, we should not wish to remain alive. So for him, he thought victory is actually the same as being defeated, because he's going to feel so dejected after he's killed 100 of his cousins. So this was his argument. But notice how Krishna tackled that one. The mindset has to be different. He has to go and fight, but his mindset has to be one where he doesn't consider, is he going to be happy or is he going to be distressed? Is he going to profit from what he's going to do, or is he going to suffer loss from what he's going to do? Is he going to experience victory, or is he going to be defeated? He should not be considering these things. Because if he doesn't consider that, but merely goes to perform his duty, that's what the important thing is. It means that he's going to save himself from sinful life, because just the fact that he was giving consideration to happiness, distress, profit, loss, he was actually thinking that he can't do his duty. So, so Krishna's argument is, in one sense, on the material level, because he's focusing on the idea of happiness and putting an emphasis that happiness comes from adhering to one's duty. So this is still sort of material thinking, but he does present that argument to help develop one's intelligence. And Krishna continues. So this is again coming from the commentary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now, a discussion of intelligence based on devotional service will be described. And he says, O Partha, if you develop your intelligence based on devotional service, you will be able to destroy the reaction to fruitive activities. So, very interesting. If you function on a material plane, there's going to be a reaction for what you do. But there's a means to actually function on that material plane, performing your duty, and get no reaction. So this is where the argument of the gross seers of Bhagavad Gita is completely annulled by more subtle seers of the truth. And how this is done is a generalization may be made that material action is judged by the physical results it brings, and it's deemed successful if it's brought to completion. This is definitely the case, but there's the problem of reaction. There's still the problem of reaction. So Arjuna would need to fight, and he was fighting a fratricidal war. And indeed, he would have to kill relatives. He would have to kill his teachers. And in the same way, Krishna is highlighting the mindset for approaching, performing one's occupational duty. And he now highlights a very fascinating process. And this is what he says. This is Krishna. Buddhi yoga, or Krishna consciousness, has permanent effect on the consciousness of the individual. So continuing with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary, which highlights being able to perform occupational activities without a reaction, through thinking, through linking one's intelligence with God or Krishna. This is how it's put. When one's intelligence, because that's Buddhi Yoga, you're linking your intelligence with God or Krishna. When one's intelligence is applied to karma, so, reactionary work, it is known as karma yoga. So this may be you dutifully, like Arjuna, he would dutifully fight, versus worrying about incurring losses from the fighting or from not fighting. And Krishna says, when it surpasses the limit of karma yoga and enters the phase of cultivating transcendental knowledge, it's known as Shankha yoga or Jnana yoga. So, one can advance in developing one's intelligence. It can start to move into a more transcendental realm. And when it surpasses the stage of both karma yoga and Jnana yoga and enters the stage of understanding one's relation to the Supreme Lord, it becomes known as Buddhi yoga or Bhakti yoga. Now, this is Krishna talking. So Krishna is making allowance for those who haven't come to the stage of self-realization, because one wants to get in touch with the soul that he's been talking about, like right from the beginning in Bhagavad Gita, that he highlights that that's where the emphasis should go. So when one turns one's emphasis to the soul, it means that one's going to start looking at the process of realizing the actual self, the soul. So Krishna makes allowance that it may take time to develop one's intelligence before one comes to that point of practicing Buddhi yoga. So in that case, the duties of an ashram will fulfill material desires in a regulated way. And in that way, it's going to diminish bodily consciousness. So it means if you're performing your duty, you're doing your work, you're going to get material results from that. And those material results are going to be very regulated, because you have to work a month to receive a salary of X amount. With that salary of X amount, you can buy this many groceries, you can pay for your accommodation, you can pay for your child's schooling, whatever it is, but it's very regulated. And by doing this kind of regulated activity, it's going to diminish your bodily consciousness. You're going to start focusing on the duty you need to perform. So Krishna's giving space to that, and gradually, as intelligence is developing, one can come to Buddhi yoga, or linking one's intelligence with Krishna. So here's the nail in the coffin for the gross seers of the truth, those that are reading Bhagavad Gita in the first category of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And this is what's said. It's Bhagavad Gita 2:41. It's very interesting. Here the aim of Bhagavad Gita is given, that service to Lord Krishna in a devotional mood is the objective. And this is how Krishna puts it. The process of devotional service is of two types. So this is when you've linked your intelligence to Krishna. Primary devotional service consists of hearing and chanting, and secondary devotional service consists of working in Krishna consciousness. I am the object, this is Krishna talking, I am the object of primary devotional service. And so, intelligence should be resolutely applied in this way. Those who are without firm faith in me develop an intelligence based on attachment to fruitive activities. This kind of intelligence is many-branched and polluted by unlimited desires. So there's Krishna. He completely wipes out the conclusion that gross seers of the absolute truth or gross readers of Bhagavad Gita, those who conclude that merely you have to actually perform your occupation, and by doing that, somehow spiritual knowledge is going to develop. And actually, the real aim of Bhagavad Gita is that you just perform your occupational duty and you achieve the results that come from activities that bring good results. That's what you should focus on. Krishna completely wipes that out as an argument, and that's in Bhagavad Gita 241, because he says that actually that kind of view means that you're attached to those activities that bring results. And it means that your intelligence is just developed in that kind of way. You're looking for activities that are going to bring you results. And if you develop your intelligence in that way, the intelligence gets very splayed out. It goes in all different directions. And with it going in all different directions, you're going to have unlimited desires. And that's pretty hellish to have unlimited desires. So that's Krishna's analysis. And he continues. Irresolute people are certainly ignorant, and they are attached to the flowery words of the Vedas. They deny the existence of the Supreme Being, being overly attached to the insignificant fruit of their activities. They hanker after heavenly enjoyment and are thus eager to attain a life of opulence and material enjoyment. So notice, Krishna is seeing it as a kind of attachment, this kind of attachment to the results that, activities that bring results, means that one's going to function, I guess, in the Karma Kanda portion of the Vedas, which tells you, if you do this, you're going to get this result. Perform this sacrifice if you want to achieve this. So he actually analyzes it, that persons who are functioning on that level of material desires, that they're actually just looking for material enjoyment. And in fact, that they're actually even really denying the existence of Krishna. Because you have to deny the existence of a greater reality if you just focused on a selfish, small reality of what you can create, the results you're going to get, and how you can enjoy those results. It's a very circumscribed reality. So the intelligence is very narrow. So I'm going to end because I've wiped out through analyzing and looking at Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's argument or presentation of the two different ways that persons can look at Bhagavad Gita. And I'm going to end on a commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on the same verse of Bhagavad Gita 241. And this was the inspiration for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his whole commentary of the Bhagavad Gita. So here's Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and it really highlights the kind of mindset one has when one has actually made that linkage of one's intelligence with the Supreme Being, and the satisfaction that one experiences where those desires have become very single-pointed. So here is how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur puts it. And this is all on that resolute application of one's intelligence. My sadhana is to serve the lotus feet of the Lord and glorify Him as instructed by my Guru. This is also my goal. It is my life-sustaining medicine, for I cannot give up the sadhana and there's something, my computer's changed something, sorry, I missed that word. So this is my most desirable object. My duty and nothing else is my duty. Nothing else is desired, even in dreams. There may be happiness or sorrow. Samsara may be destroyed or may not be destroyed. That is no loss for me. Let there only be resolute intelligence fixed in pure bhakti. So you can see how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has drawn from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in certainly categorizing that second category of readers of Bhagavad Gita who are putting an emphasis on devotional service to the Supreme Lord being a very, 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 very important idea presented in Bhagavad Gita. So if there's any thought on this short discussion or some question that may have come into the mind.
Hi, I really enjoyed the lesson that you gave us, and I also want to say, please, I pardon my ignorance. So I'll ask you something which I've wondered about, and you brought up early in your discussion, and it's about the body leaving, or the soul leaving the body. And I was thinking that when Arjuna's interactions with the people on the other side are through a combination of the body and the soul, and so when the soul leaves the body, I understand the soul survives, but Arjuna cannot see the soul anymore. So I think he's okay to say that he's going to feel sad, he's going to lament the loss that will occur by him killing them. So I don't know, in my mind there's I don't really grasp that notion that he should not feel sad.
What is the last word? Your mind has grasped that we should not be?
Like, I don't completely grasp why Arjun shouldn't lament the loss of the people, even if it is duty, because when the body is gone, his interaction with those people is gone, even though the soul survives.
Yes, that's an excellent point, that you're empathizing with Arjuna from the point of view that, when the persons are killed on the opposing side, it means their bodies are destroyed. It means that it's got implications for oneself, because now you can no longer have interactions with them. That's the point you're raising. So hence you're empathizing with Arjuna. So this is being very thoughtful, and it's natural. The reason that Krishna is putting such an emphasis on shifting one's focus to the soul is that if one is focusing on the soul, one's actually going to elevate one's consciousness. So elevating one's consciousness, and particularly through the process of linking one's intelligence with the Supreme Lord, means that one is occupying a space of consciousness where there's a deeper understanding of existence. With the deeper understanding comes a certain peacefulness and also a certain determination to perform one's duty, because one understands that performing one's duty is actually for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. It's actually something you have to do. So if one's mind is feeling sentimental, like, these are my relatives, I'm no longer going to be able to spend time with them, it's secondary to wanting to perform duty in relation to pleasing the Supreme Lord, because it's a higher value. The higher value is performing that duty for the purpose of pleasing Krishna. That's Buddha Yoga. So from that point of view, it doesn't mean that one is a heartless person. Arjuna was a fighter, so he was very familiar with life and death. I mean, anybody who goes and fights and isn't of the nature of a fighter returns from a battle with post-traumatic stress syndrome, because they actually, first, it may not be fully their nature, and secondly, they haven't actually linked their intelligence with the Supreme Lord, that they're performing all those activities for the purpose of pleasing Krishna. It's their duty to fight for their country. So they're automatically protected and insulated from the suffering, from the horror of the visuals of massacred bodies. So, yeah, and it's not being heartless. It's just putting the emphasis where it's supposed to go, on the correct spiritual value. And those persons that are killed in a battle that is righteous, because in this case it was Krishna's desire for Arjuna to fight that battle, there's a glory that comes from performing one's duty in a righteous battle. So the same thing with the person who's a fighter who goes perhaps to Afghanistan and is on the part of America and is an American soldier, and he's fighting for his country because that's his country's directive to perform that particular fighting. And if he's fixed in Buddha Yoga, connecting his intelligence to Krishna, then also he's not going to return with post-traumatic stress syndrome. He's actually going to be peaceful and quite detached from the horrific massacre that may be going on around him. Yeah, so that's a thought. Thank you very much for your thoughtful reflection. Thank you very much for your very kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mataji, for a very profound analysis on the Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you.
So next part of the program will be, we'll have prasadam on the third floor, out of this door, on the stairs up there. Please do come back. We'll have kirtan at 7 to 8, and we'll also have darshan of the deities. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Vedanta Swami Iti Namini. Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Upstairs to the temple of Madunga woman, get my black coat. Oh, I left it up there. Same man. Can you go quickly, Kia? Thank you. What did you want from again? What was it again? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishori, Jaya Kishore Kishore, Kishori, Jaya Kishore, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol.
Hey, Kartal, leave it here. You want to play?
No, I'm not. I'm going.
Go, play. Oh, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Hare
Okay. So there is one car blocking the parking lot. It's AK70631. See, please try to remove the car. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरि नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Thank you for playing with us. So nice. You're playing so good.